2021 edition, because this is one we're going to have to refer to by its year as well, because as I've said in my He's All That review, Hollywood just loves doing this trend where they make a new movie in a certain franchise and then name that movie and then give that movie the same title as the original one in said franchise. Watch my review for He's All That for a rant on that. Candyman 2021 focuses on Anthony McCoy as he learns the legend of the Candyman. You say his name 5 times in a mirror, he is going to kill you, and the consequences that he has to deal with when an art show of his depicts the history of the neighborhood of Chicago that he lives in. I was really looking forward to this movie, mostly because it was Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta is going to be directing the upcoming The Marvels, which is the sequel to Captain Marvel. So I haven't seen anything of Nia DaCosta's yet, so I was interested to see what she would bring to the table for a horror movie, and Nia DaCosta directs this movie to a T. She is able to stage the tension and the suspense in many different ways. She's able to get creative in staging that tension and suspense so that you can anticipate jump scares that don't ever happen and do not happen the second after you're anticipating them to happen. She is able to craft a new legacy in terms of the slasher genre. She was able to get her hands on this movie. This is her movie. I'm saying this because there's been a lot of controversy on the internet. Apparently on the Twitter sphere, there's a lot of people calling this Jordan Peele's film. Yes, he gets a co-writing credit, but this is not Jordan Peele's film. This is definitely Nia DaCosta's film. So this is Nia DaCosta's Candyman. If you don't like it, sorry, learn how to be a journalist. But I thought her direction was very strong in this movie, and she was able to weave the characters in and out of situations very well. And I actually liked the ending of the movie where it actually did keep me guessing. I said, oh my God, is such and such gonna such and such? And it didn't end up happening. So it does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, which I greatly appreciated. And I love the performances everybody gives throughout this movie. And that is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who is really good. Teyonah Parris, who we have seen in WandaVision. She is phenomenal in this movie as well. I think she's she's better in this than she is in WandaVision. It's not to undermine her performance in WandaVision, but I felt as if she was giving more of her all in this than WandaVision. We'll see what happens with her in the Marvels and the future of the MCU, and I hope that she really, really gets to shine in more Marvel Cinematic Universe related content. But she was really good in this movie. But I guess I just didn't like this movie as much as critics were saying. There's a lot of social commentary in this film, which I think is fine. There's a lot of talk in the movie about white supremacy, how black people are looked down, how they kind of been pushed to this other neighborhood in Chicago. Fine. I love all the social commentary that came with this movie. I think the social commentary for this movie is something that needs to be addressed in real life. So taking real life situations and putting them in a movie and addressing those in a movie, we're finally getting people to talk about it. But you could tell that that was Jordan Peele's stamp on the film, because the social commentary mixed with the humor that didn't ever work for me. A couple of chuckles here and there, but there were more moments where it was trying to get a laugh out of you, and I said that didn't work for me, and mostly because the social commentary just undercuts a lot of the tension and suspense. It really brings the tension and suspense that Nia DaCosta has set up in a lot of these scenes down. So it makes the movie have less of an impact on you as an audience member than what Nia DaCosta was originally building up with that tension and suspense. And like I said, she builds it up very good. It's just the social commentary undercuts that. Will be in a big moment of tension and suspense where it seems like, holy shit, these people are fearing for their lives, and then all of a sudden it's back to the social commentary thing, which again, you need. In a movie like this, you need that. And I'm never against the movies throwing real life messages and concerns like that into it, as long as it doesn't undercut the actual scene and the staging of the scene, or if it just feels force-fed in. Moments of the social commentary within the script did feel a bit tacked on and forced. Also, this is both a positive and a detriment to the film. There's a lot of exposition in this movie. And exposition in any movie is just about needed for anything. But I've always said, if you're going to have an exposition scene, have something of interest happening in those scenes. When exposition does happen in this film, something of interest does happen. And some might be like, well, this is a bit of a cop-out. For me, it worked. And I think it was because when people started talking about the legacy of Candyman and what he does, like we get the scene towards the beginning where Teyonah Parris' brother is talking to her about the legend of the Candyman. He's verbally spewing out dialogue about the legacy of the Candyman. It could have just been easy to have a still shot of his face, spewing out dialogue, talking to Teyonah Parris, but because it's a single shot, it looks like he's talking to us. Instead, they went down a more interesting route and created an animated sequence that plays out that series of events that he's talking about. Similar to how Deathly Hallows Part 1 handled the origins of the Deathly Hallows and the Peveril brothers, with Hermione telling that story, and then there's that animated sequence that shows you exactly what happened with those brothers. It's very similar in this movie. But then later on in the film, when there's more exposition scenes, they don't go back to that. So those exposition scenes bothered me because it did feel like it was just somebody talking to the camera against a long, still shot, rather than a unique way of having something happen while somebody is giving exposition in a scene. Now, as I said, these animated sequences might be a bit of a detriment to some audiences, because I feel like some audiences are going to look at it and say, well, we're just watching what unfolded. But you don't see this in movies all that often with exposition. It's something that felt fresh and new, and I'm always clamoring for something fresh and new. And that's why I really dug how they handled most of those sequences in the first half of the film, but then like the third act, it really just went by the wayside. It was almost as if they forgot that. They were just talking at the camera at that point. I said, get back to the like really cool like animation vibe that you were going for that showed these past events and the legacy of the Candyman in the past. I thought it was a really interesting and unique way to show exposition, something we haven't seen in a while. I just wish that the movie had continued that trend throughout the entire thing. It happens again in the third act, but at a point in the third act, it feels like it's forgotten until they do it again. And the characters just weren't that interesting for me. Teyonah Parris' character had nothing going on for her. I mean, the only reason I ended up caring is because it's Teyonah Parris and she has a lot of screen presence. Same with all the other side characters. There's these middle school, high school, teenage girls introduced. They're just there to get ganked. You know, they set up one of them, and I said, what is going to go on with that girl? I'm like, well, she's obviously going to get ganked, whether it's here or later on in the film, but then she's not brought up at all until her next scene in the movie, when something does happen with her and a group of other friends, and that honestly bothered me. It's not as good as critics are saying, I don't think. I mean, it's a solid entry into the Candyman series. I think it could have been better if the social commentary didn't undermine all the tension and suspense that DaCosta set up in her film. I'm going to say you will really enjoy Candyman with a little over half a bucket of popcorn and some candy. So guys, what did you think of Candyman? Drop me some feedback in the comment section below. I'll leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.